players won today, but it's really a win all around for everybody. And let's go ahead and get into what we're talking about. It's Greg, guys. I'm back with some more AFK Journey, and the devs responded today on all the backlash from the new season. Now, I, of course, am still like 7 days away from being able to start the new season, so I haven't had firsthand experience with what's going on, but I have been reading, I have been watching videos, and because that's really the best I got right now, since there's not much for me to do in game until the new season hits. But I have been seeing all the feedback, and I can understand why everyone's upset, but at the same time, I can see a lot of the things from the developer's perspective as well. Now, I am a director of software development, and so I want to kind of bring my expertise here in terms of how I see this from a developer's point of view, and like how I would handle like a client, in this case the players, in similar situations. Now, I recorded this once already. It was like almost 20 minutes. I don't want to cut it down quite a bit, so let's see if I achieve that. So what I'm going to do is go through each point that was addressed here. I'm not going to read all the way through. I'm going to summarize everything and point out the important stuff, and then I'll discuss it from a developer's perspective. So number one, why nerf the AFK rewards and free gifts in the new season? So that's what everyone's asking. What's going on with all these nerf rewards? Now, the gist of what they're saying here is, it wasn't like they were planning to do this. It's just that, this is kind of what they thought. They thought, okay, you start you off with a lot of stuff, then cut back a little bit. That's a reasonable assumption, as a developer. So I don't see the problem from that perspective, but it was just a bit too much. So anyway, they say moving forward, we're committed to maintaining this level of generosity for every new season. So they realized that what they were trying to do wasn't going to work. So we're going to keep doing this in the future because we know this is what you want. And I'll explain some key points there that they kind of messed up on. So seasonal AFK rewards. I think this is the big one. The starter story, which is what we're going to refer to season 0, essentially what we've been playing from the start of the game. Everyone's going to have to start with the starter story and wait 42 days for the new season. So the AFK levels, they added back in the diamonds and invite letters. They should have never taken this out. When you have a mode that's exactly the same as it was, you shouldn't be reducing the rewards. It's just not something you should do. You can adjust what you're going to do in new features, but not in existing features. So this is really good. And they're saying that the season AFK stages will be more rewarding than the starter story. Good. That's how it should be. It should be on par or better than how we experienced it in the starter story, because there's nothing else different about the AFK stages. It's just new challenges and something we had to progress through again. You don't want to have we had this experience of 1125 stages in the starter story, and we felt that what we were getting from that, and then to come and do it in a new season and not get the same thing, not good. Legend trial, this is the biggest one I think everyone's been talking about, because it feels like you're getting absolute trash on the new legend trial. So they're bringing this up on par to the starter story. You get a total of 36 invite letters, 360 title essence, and 120 temporal essence. I still feel like this is overall a bit too low, but especially the invite letters, I feel like you should at least get a full pity doing all 4 towers. But I can't complain too much. But additionally, they're adding faction acorns every 10 floors as well, which is good. I think there's a little bit of an acorn shortage that people can experience, especially if you're not doing a lot of pulls. So I think that's fair. This is a big one. Like I was saying about the AFK stages, corrupt creatures, those things we have to do with the groups. So you invite someone, you get like 1 or 2 people in, and then you can start it. They apparently nerfed those rewards. Again, I haven't experienced it, but it looks like you weren't even getting the S-level soulstone pieces anymore, which, come on, like that's just greed. As a developer, I would not take that away. Like, again, this is the same feature we had in starter story. We shouldn't get a reduction in rewards for that. We shouldn't. So good response here. They are enhancing those rewards there. D, enhance the rewards for battle drill. I heard a lot of backlash on battle drill. I heard they nerfed the rewards there. Again, why? Battle drill should really not be no there. I mean, you can change like the maps and stuff, but you should not change the rewards there. That doesn't make any sense. Then adjusted diamond rewards in small and medium chests found on the map. They basically doubling them. I don't know if this brings it on par. I don't remember what it was in the starter story, but again, you're talking about features that are exactly as they were when we started the game. This chest is still a chest. It's still a chest we experienced back then. We don't want to see less in that chest. Like, you can't do that. As a developer, You cannot take things away from the client. You know, you can't take functionality away. People have ingrained in their head what they're getting from these things that are on the map. Now, if you would have added a new chest, new type of chest, and it only does this, fine. Then no one can compare that to anything else. If it's different, it's not different though. These are the same things we had in the starter story. They should have the same rewards. So from a developer's perspective, that's kind of what the issue is there. I get what they were trying to do, but I think it was too soon and too much, and they dropped the ball on it. Because you didn't keep stuff from the original story, like you didn't keep the battle drill, you didn't keep all these features, like, so we're not playing this side by side with the starter story stuff. We don't get to keep playing the Dream Realm bosses from the starter story as we're doing the season. They're new bosses, new mechanics. So you can't take stuff away that we are expecting. You just can't. And they fixed that here. So first off, for the rewards, I think for the most part, I feel like there's still a few things missing for him. I'm not exactly sure. I think maybe some epic invite letters from the some of the chests, the big chests. I didn't see that addressed here. I heard that we were missing some of those too. So I don't know. I have to see how it pans out. This is definitely, 200% better than what the season was going like, and I think it's winning a lot of players back. Then we get into the true damage discussion. So this is a big one. Everyone seems to think, says the meta has shifted in the Dream Realm for the new season. Again, I'm on the new season, so I don't know all the details, but I understand that it is different because they did try to balance the gap between true damage and other heroes. You don't want to have that huge of a gap, but at the same time, it is also a good dynamic to a game to be able to have different characters for different things. As a developer, you have to find that balance, and it's so hard to get that balance, especially for free to play, for spenders, and trying to keep everybody happy. And they dropped the ball on this one. And not necessarily that they dropped the ball on it, but they could have did better with the communication. And two, it is a bit of the player's fault in this instance. And I had to say it lightly. It's not victim blaming, but when people, experience something, they expect to carry that experience over. And this is where I feel like they did drop the ball on the fact that the original bosses should have stayed the same. And then you add more bosses to it for the season. And those mechanics can be different, but the original bosses should have stayed the same. If we invested in those characters for those bosses, that shouldn't have changed. Now, difference is there. We don't actually know the real impact here because we haven't made it to endless mode. And I say I haven't freaking even gotten started yet, so who the heck knows? I can tell you the starter story bosses are exactly the same as they were before the patch. They didn't change the mechanics on them. So the bigger question is, why aren't those 4 bosses the exact same in the new season, and then they didn't just add different bosses? That's kind of my thought there. So essentially what they say here is that, hey, you haven't experienced everything yet. You don't have all the artifacts. It's going to be different when you get to endless mode. For now, we recommend you try different formations. So this is where, as a developer, we have to decide, is what they're asking for, is it really what they want, or do they not know the whole story yet? And pretty much what they're saying is we don't know the whole story yet, so give it a little bit of time. That's definitely hard. That's a hard line to follow, and difficult water to tread. So I think that they're doing their best there, but I think we do need to give it a bit more time, although I can understand why people are upset. And seasonal skills also play a role too. We have to understand what's more so the impact of the seasonal skill versus the actual change in mechanics. Then finally, what's the plan for the season? I'm so confused with what's going to happen. This is so true. We don't really know what's going on. The only thing I know what's going on is that I only have to do this whole wait and see thing for the first season. I do know that everyone I'm playing with now will get access to season 2 at the same time. So I'm happy about that. I'm glad I know that. They give us a little more here. They're essentially saying they have updates scheduled for each month to bring new features, new events, new rewards, and other exciting content. But we don't want to add any new progression features in this season. So they want to basically keep, everyone capped like they did the first season. And everyone's going to hit that same ceiling and will be on par. Seasonal Supreme Arena, they also talk about they're going to set a baseline to minimize the power gap between participants. So it's going to be a lot like the Honor Duel, more so than Arena, as far as I can tell. Although Arena really balances out the levels well. So I don't really understand what the issue is with Supreme Arena. Again, I haven't been able to play it yet, so I don't know there, but I don't know. Hopefully people are excited about this. Maybe if you know a little bit more, you can tell me in the comments. Am I missing something? Is there some kind of big issue there that I don't know about, or what? And with that, they just talk about the power gap by people progressing too quickly through the new areas. So, I mean, yeah, I guess, fair enough. I can't really talk too much about that. So essentially, they are apologizing. They are saying they're listening to player feedback, and I think all that's great. We do have a redeem code here. I'll call it out in case you're just listening. hwidnabwbd, pretty much like I just smashed the keyboard. I'll put that code in the description as well. It's going to get you a 10 pool of invite letters. So overall, I think this is great news from the developers. I think this has answered a lot of what people were upset with. And I think it's a good thing to see that communication and that fact that we can have an impact on the game. I say we, even though I didn't necessarily put anything out there, so I can't take credit. But the players can have an impact on the game. And that's great. As a developer, I understand the difficulty in working with a client and understanding requirements and things like that. And while I do think the developers did drop the ball a bit and could have avoided some of this with just some common sense thinking through on the development side, I think they responded very well. So can't fault them too much in that. In terms of what, if as a director myself, if I was to look at this any differently, like I said, finding the balance of testing and understanding is always hard, and it's always perspective that you have available from your testers or whatever. Maybe they should have a test server that people can access and get some better feedback that way. Who knows? Probably something I would be considering if I was doing this. But in my opinion, they took the feedback. They didn't jump the gun either. They took some time to respond. And that's really how you're supposed to handle it. We take in all the information, look at it, analyze it. They probably had some meetings like, okay, well, what should we really do here? Did we drop the ball? They probably was like, oh, we probably shouldn't have did that. And then decided how to move forward. So as with the other stuff they've done right now, if they make any changes, we'll get, compensated in the mail if you, did any of the stuff in the season already. So don't worry about that. And hopefully this keeps everyone satisfied for now. And hopefully they just keep on listening and we keep progressing in this positive direction. And so that's cool. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next one.